Tonight, the NFL is sticking with Elon Musk, the league condemning hate speech in a statement today, but says it won't stop advertising on X after Musk agreed with a message that accused Jewish communities of hatred against whites.
Elon Musk, the innovative force behind Tesla, SpaceX, and Neuralink, has consistently challenged the status quo and illuminated the hidden dynamics of power in society. Now, he has unearthed revelations that pose a serious threat to the very fabric of American democracy. Thanks to him, we uncover the covert tactics employed by shadowy government agencies to manipulate presidential agendas, revealing unsettling truths that were never meant to come to light. We examine the role of major tech companies alongside traditional media powerhouses in all of this. Together, they may be entangled in a broader conspiracy aimed at maintaining control over the world's highest office, raising profound questions about the intersection of technology, media, and democracy. Why is Elon revealing this now? What is the implication of this? Discover how Elon Musk just leaked the final US government secret that no one was supposed to know. Uncovering a controversial theory of hidden power in the US government. The phrase deep state stems from a political conspiracy theory in American politics that asserts there is a powerful inner circle of prominent persons working for the federal government, primarily the FBI and CIA. According to this hypothesis, these people either act inside or alongside the official institutions of the elected US government, as well as with important financial and commercial leaders. Some who are in support of this view believe that their purpose is to grab power and influence national policies, typically for their personal profit. Many people assume that the phrase deep state is relatively new. Nonetheless, it was first used to address the purported presence of a deep state in Turkey in the 1990s. But over time, the notion began to arise in talks about US politics, garnering increased prominence under the Obama administration. The term had little significance when it was originally used, but during Donald Trump's administration, it acquired substantial attention. Trump constantly addressed a deep state during his presidency, saying that it was hostile to his ambitions and policies. He used this word to define a range of difficulties affecting his administration. To be honest, it's not altogether original to imagine that a clandestine group is aiming to subvert the government from within. It is analogous historically, at least to the 1950s. In this subject, one widely known idea is the military-industrial complex. According to this idea, defense contractors and military generals frequently conspire to pursue policies that prolong wars, hence boosting their profits via greater defense spending and contracts. In this approach, the theory argues that choices on national security are frequently taken at the expense of the general welfare, owing to a strong link between private and public interests. According to studies done in 2017 and 2018, over half of all Americans felt that the US had a deep state at work. This rising belief means that the idea has surpassed fringe theory and attained popular acceptance in certain groups. Many proponents of the deep state theory claim that this network has a wide effect and erodes democratic institutions by adopting national policies that favor strong leaders while neglecting the demand of the population. In the end, there is still great dispute regarding whether the deep state is real or imagined. However, its effect on political discourse has sparked worries about the allocation and use of power within the US government, particularly in recent years. The deep state continues to have a huge impact on how many Americans view how their government functions as more citizens come to grips with its presence. When did the deep state become a political controversy? Let's find out. A history of hidden power and political controversy. Evidence supporting the notion of a dual state, a clandestine national security apparatus acting in concert with elected officials, dates at least to the 1950s. A 1955 essay published in the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists captures the beliefs of Americans who felt that this shadow government existed, alleging that it surveilled and influenced political people from behind closed doors. According to political scientist George Friedman, the foundations of such a deep state may be discovered even further back in American history. Friedman says that the development of the deep state started in 1871 when the president's power over federal workers was reduced, therefore establishing a permanent bureaucracy that acts independently of the government. According to historian Alfred W. McCoy, the clandestine power structure has been significantly reinforced by the expansion of the U.S. intelligence community in the modern era. According to McCoy, this development has essentially produced a fourth branch of government, which has enormous authority and functions increasingly independently of the president. Professor Michael J. Glennon of Tufts University gives extra credence for the claim by outlining President Barack Obama's issues. Despite his best efforts, Glennon feels Obama was unable to terminate or dramatically modify what he refers to as the double government. He cited the president's failure to abolish the Guantanamo Bay detention camp, a crucial campaign vow, as proof that established interests within the government were able to overcome the elected president's authority. In recent years, the idea of the deep state has acquired even more support, notably during Donald Trump's administration. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer made a comment a few weeks before Trump's inauguration in 2017, which many have taken as proof of the existence of the deep state. After calling Trump really dumb for publicly insulting the CIA, Schumer warned, adding, "You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you." Critics and even advocacy groups such as the ACLU have frequently referenced this comment as proof that the intelligence community, which is a component of the deep state, has the authority to retaliate against any probe into its veracity. In a 2020 post for Business Insider, Rebecca Gordon, a writer and University of San Francisco professor, noted that Trump regularly referred to the government's deep state as groups that he thought were hindering his policy aims. Gordon noticed that Trump routinely characterized agencies like the court, the Justice Department, and even the news media as opponents who sought to block the aims of his administration. In addition to what Trump has suggested, former congressional staffer Mike Lofgren warned in 2014 that powerful vested interests are safeguarded by a deep state. According to Lofgren, a web of entrenched interests influences important choices on trade agreements, national goals, and U.S. security policy with little respect for the needs or wants of the American people. In keeping with these allegations, public officials comprise a deep state that impacts government actions in the background, according to ex-NSA leaker Edward Snowden. Trump's administration and allies have blamed the Department of Justice's failure to pursue people like Huma Abedin or former FBI Director James Comey on the agency's involvement with the deep state. Trump sympathizers and right-wing media sites repeatedly suggested that former President Obama was planning a deep state pushback against Trump's government. These claims characterized intelligence officers and executive branch members' internal conflicts and leaks as tactics the deep state was employing to sabotage Trump's goals. The special counsel inquiry into Russian intervention in the 2016 election was heavily concentrated on the notion of a deep state. The former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, alleged that special counsel Robert Mueller was a part of the deep state and that the probe was a calculated effort to undermine Trump's authority. An anonymous opinion post headlined, "I am part of the resistance inside the Trump administration," which was penned by Miles Taylor, the DHS chief of staff at the time, was published in The New York Times in 2018. This further bolstered the argument against the deep state. According to Taylor's piece, top Trump administration officials were purposefully aiming to frustrate parts of Trump's agenda. Supporters of Trump, like former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, interpreted this as more proof of the deep state's participation. Similarly, David Bossie argued in an opinion piece for Fox News that this report illustrated how the deep state was subduing the will of the American people. The debate on the deep state has also been expanded by other political personalities. In 2018, Republican Senator Rand Paul argued that the CIA's choice to brief the House of Representatives' Gang of Eight, primarily on subjects relevant to secret intelligence, was an indication of acts by the deep state. Trump's temporary chief of staff in the White House that year, Mick Mulvaney, stated that claims of a deep state plan against the president were absolutely 100% true. a crucial component of the QAnon conspiracy theory movement, which celebrates Donald Trump as a leader against a clandestine organization dominating both national and international events, is the notion of a deep state. The John Birch Society and other older far-right talking points have been tied to Trump's frequent utilization of deep state terminology. The theory has gained steam, going beyond the fringe and into mainstream political debate, transforming how many Americans understand their nation and the institutions of power inside it. Debate over the idea that a deep state controls or at least strongly influences national politics is still continuing strong, splitting proponents of the theory from skeptics who regard it as mere theory. Who is the deep state, and how does the deep state work? Let's find out more. The hidden hand. How the deep state secretly controls the US presidency. Recent claims made by Elon Musk have surprised the political world by hinting at the existence of a well-established mechanism within the US government that controls the nation's top position. Musk's words have blurred the bounds between theory and fact by introducing the prospect of a sophisticated, covert control system that may impact the president's every choice. Musk thinks that this system is the consequence of a complicated network of monitoring, persuasion, and manipulation meant to keep the president in line with the interests of a covert organization known as the deep state, rather than overt threats or public pressure. It is said that the deep state functions with tremendous power, apart from being a publicly recognized entity. It circumvents the essential checks and balances necessary to safeguard democratic democracy. This covert squad utilizes modern monitoring technology, subtle psychological manipulation, and financial pressure to influence the president's decisions without the public knowing. The degree to which the democratic process has been undermined and the true structure of power in the United States are key challenges emphasized by Musk's statements. According to Musk, ongoing monitoring that begins the minute the president assumes office is one of the system's key components. This monitoring is substantially above usual security measures. Every interaction, debate, and decision made by the president in public or private is observed. Working for the deep state, intelligence officers study every element and provide a report, assuring sure the president keeps inside predefined parameters. The ramifications of having so many people observed are scary. If Musk is true, then no president of the United States has ever been totally free to act in keeping with their principles or ideals. Rather, they continually know that deviating from the deep state's purpose may have terrible ramifications, ranging from personal devastation to political sabotage. According to Musk, under this position, the president is reduced to a tool whose actions are directed by outside powers. The role that psychological manipulation plays in the deep state's control is another alarming component of Musk's statement. A network of professionals, including brain specialists, behavioral scientists, and psychologists, is continuously at work in the background to subtly alter the president's decisions. With great care, these specialists construct narratives, suggest views, and implant proposals that gradually transform the president's perspective. The president frequently fails to detect the small influence, but combined as a whole, it has a big impact. The president's actions and policies are steadily aligning with the deep state's purpose, even if they are clueless that they are being steered in that way. Even the president's closest circle is prone to this influence. Important advisors and confidants who are typically thought of as lifelong friends may be deep state operatives, according to Musk. Carefully positioned within the president's inner circle, these persons supply support and guidance that may look innocent, but their principal aim is to keep the president on course. Their true devotion is not to the president or the American people, but to the deep state. This network of mates makes sure that any divergence from the chosen direction is met with mild but significant opposition. Another powerful weapon that the deep state utilizes is financial pressure. According to Musk, the deep state is in control of huge financial resources that are used to pay officials, protect the president's acquiescence, and fund clandestine actions. Direct payments are not the only method that this power is communicated. Alternatively, the deep state may regulate the flow of political financing, award lucrative contracts to cronies, and even manipulate the stock market to place pressure on the government to make decisions that will benefit it. The deep state has great influence on the president's policy choices and legislative agenda as it controls these financial resources. The use of implied threats in Musk's comments is definitely the most disturbing part of them. Open violence and blatant threats may be infrequent, but the president is purportedly advised by the deep state that breaking borders can have devastating personal implications. This could come in the form of subliminal clues or blatant threats, causing a sense of fear that inhibits independent action. In this fashion, the president finds himself entangled in a maze of doubt and worry, unable to escape the grasp of the mysterious organization acting behind the scenes. The president is not the only one who finds value in Musk's words. What repercussions does this have for other elected authorities, such as states and members of Congress, if the deep state has this much control over the head of the free world? Are they also vulnerable to comparable approaches, or are these appointed forces undermining the system as a whole? These are significant and extensive study problems that strike at the basis of American democracy. The worldwide consequences of Musk's findings are also scary. The acts done by the U.S. president have a major effect on international relations, national security, and the dissemination of democratic ideas. Forces that are not receptive to the American people or the world community are affecting the entire globe if the president is not acting on their own initiative, but rather at the request of a hidden group. This brings into question the morality of U.S. foreign policy and how it impacts world politics. Musk also described how technology helps to maintain this management system. Without the preceding decade's huge technical developments, he could not have characterized the monitoring and psychological impact. Although there are undoubtedly significant advantages to technology, Musk's words emphasize the possibility of misuse if these instruments end themselves in the wrong hands. Such technology provides the deep state unrestricted authority, which serves as a sobering reminder of the demand for close monitoring and accountability in its deployment. Musk also brought up a significant issue on the accountability and transparency of political officials. The president should answer to the people in a true democracy. The American people, however, have no means of knowing who is truly pulling the strings if the president is being ruled by an unelected deep state. The core notions of democratic administration are endangered by this lack of transparency, which also renders massive corruption and power misuse feasible. Another essential aspect to look about is the emotional toll this control puts on the president. Musk stated that the reason many presidents appear to age rapidly or behave weird while in office could be owing to the ongoing observation, pressure, and influence. Anyone would find it difficult to keep the illusion of liberty while incessantly managing, much less someone entrusted with the leadership of a nation. This psychological pressure may have tremendous ramifications for the entire nation, not just the president. Musk's statements further raise the probability that there has been corruption within the political system. It is natural to think that other branches of government, political parties, and even the media may be similarly impacted if the deep state has the power to influence the president. This would suggest that the system as a whole is nothing more than a facade, with people in positions of power holding the genuine authority while acting in secret. If Musk's claims come to pass, the already tenuous public trust in the government will surely suffer greatly. The idea that their government is run by the people, for the people, has been cherished by the American people for a very long time. The whole democratic system may collapse under the weight of disillusionment and apathy if people start to believe that their votes are meaningless and that unseen forces have decided the outcomes of elections. The question of what may occur if a president disagreed with this control is also raised by Musk's revelation. If a leader didn't want to comply, would the deep state tolerate it, or would it turn to more drastic measures to ensure compliance? Under such circumstances, the likelihood of political turmoil, scandal, or even impeachment becomes extremely likely. Lastly, Musk's statement may discourage other candidates from running for president in the future due to its chilling effect. Many might come to the conclusion that the risks outweigh the benefits if they believe that ascending to the top of the country means ceding control to a powerful covert force. This might result in a situation where the presidential candidate is exclusively chosen by members of the deep state, further weakening the democratic process and denying the American people any real say over who leads them. Musk's charges paint a very frightening picture of a democracy in crisis, one in which the nation's top office is ruled by an obscure, unelected body. If true, these allegations demand an immediate investigation, not only for the president's benefit, but also for the survival of democracy in general. The fragility of national sovereignty, examining the implications of Elon Musk's deep state claims. Elon Musk's recent remarks on the deep state's claimed influence over the office of the U.S. president have stirred extensive disputes over the nature of governance in the United States. If his statements contain any reality, they amount to a troubling loss of national sovereignty, not only for the U.S., but for democracies worldwide. At its essence, national sovereignty signifies a nation's capacity to govern itself without excessive foreign influence, intervention, or manipulation by secret, unelected groups. Musk's notion that a hidden network has influence over the U.S. president contradicts this concept, raising significant issues about who genuinely controls power in one of the most prominent countries on Earth. The concept that unelected persons may be guiding the conduct of the highest office in the U.S. shatters the conventional understanding of American democracy. It indicates that the president, ostensibly the representative of the people, is not the ultimate authority in the nation, but rather a puppet for hidden forces. Such a discovery, if generally accepted, might radically change how other countries see and interact with the United States on the world arena. Historically, the U.S. has been considered as a bulwark of democracy, an example of free administration where the will of the people rules supreme. However, if it becomes evident that this is no longer the case, the country's image as a leader in democratic government might be seriously damaged. International allies could begin to second-guess their connections with the U.S., questioning whether the deals they make with the president actually represent the desire of the American people, or if they are instead influenced by unseen forces. Such uncertainty may disrupt the foundations of long-standing alliances, perhaps forcing countries to distance themselves from the U.S. as they seek more transparent and stable ties. The ripple effects might stretch well beyond the U.S., changing global diplomatic ties and endangering the fundamental stability of multinational alliances that have been sustained for decades. In contrast, opponents of the United States might latch upon similar admissions as proof of weakness inside the country's political system. They could use this perceived weakness to undercut American power, both on the diplomatic front and in other areas, leveraging it to their advantage in talks and confrontations. The notion that the U.S. president is not totally in charge might inspire countries that typically oppose American policies to act more forcefully, further upsetting the global order. The potential effect on diplomatic relations cannot be understated. Nations that have historically associated themselves with the United States may find themselves doubting the credibility of their most important partner. With suspicions percolating about the actual center of power in the U.S., they could reevaluate existing strategic ties, deciding to establish new collaborations or shift toward competing countries like China or Russia. This restructuring of global alliances may have severe effects, perhaps spawning regional wars as nations attempt to adjust their geopolitical agendas in a more uncertain environment. Moreover, Musk's comments might give cover for authoritarian countries to legitimize their own undemocratic activities. Leaders of authoritarian states could refer to the purported presence of a deep state in the U.S. to suggest that even in the world's top democracy, actual power resides with an elite few rather than the people. This narrative might be used to deny foreign critiques of their own administration and create a rationale for additional crackdowns on dissent and opposition. In this approach, Musk's remarks might have far-reaching ramifications for global democracy, emboldening tyrants and weakening attempts to promote democratic norms. The economic ramifications of these arguments are similarly profound. The United States, as the world's biggest economy, plays a critical role in ensuring global economic stability. Any allegation that the leadership is under the power of a deep state might cause anxiety among overseas investors, leading to instability in financial markets. Confidence in the U.S. economy would wane, with investors feeling that government choices are being influenced to suit the interests of a secretive few rather than the wider public or the global economic system. Such anxieties might result in swings in financial markets, devaluation of the currency, and interruptions in global commerce. If it becomes generally acknowledged that the deep state controls the U.S. financial infrastructure, investors could begin to doubt the long-term sustainability of U.S. economic policies. This uncertainty might induce a loss of confidence that, in turn, could spark a financial catastrophe. Musk's comments indicate that economic policies are developed not with the well-being of the nation in mind, but rather to enrich and empower a select few. The outcome might be increased economic inequality, both inside the U.S. and around the world, as policies disproportionately favor the wealthy while the general population suffers. Domestically, the consequences from Musk's remarks might be much more unsettling. The American population has long taken pleasure in living in a democracy where the government is responsible to its citizenry, where elected officials are expected to serve the people. The concept that the president is not genuinely in charge violates this core assumption and might lead to widespread disappointment and rage. As people begin to doubt the legitimacy of their administration, political instability might follow, potentially even leading to civil upheaval. Discontent with the current quo could show in different ways, from increasing support for anti-establishment politicians to the creation of new political groups aimed at regaining power from the deep state. These movements might vary from peaceful democratic changes to more extreme and perhaps violent acts aiming at undermining the present political order. If faith in the democratic process erodes further, the U.S. might enter an era of political turbulence with unforeseen and far-reaching ramifications for the future of the nation. The growth of conspiracy theories is another possible result. Musk's announcement might feed a fresh surge of conjecture and hysteria, as people look for answers and scapegoats for what they regard as the betrayal of their democracy. Conspiracy theories might grow, widening the gaps that already exist in the United States and making it much more difficult to create a national agreement on crucial political problems. In this context of skepticism, the role of the media will be critical. How Musk's comments are presented and understood may either soothe the public or increase concerns. If the media accepts his charges with care and performs comprehensive investigations, it may give legitimacy to the concept that the deep state is genuine and in control of the administration. However, if the media rejects Musk's claims as mere conspiracy theory, this might lead to allegations of bias and cover-ups, further weakening public faith in the institutions that are meant to keep the government responsible. Social media platforms will certainly become battlegrounds for the propagation of knowledge and disinformation as people publish stuff that either supports or discredits Musk's assertions. The amplification impact of social media algorithms might create echo chambers where users are only exposed to information that matches with their prior ideas. This polarization might make it more difficult for the nation to come at a common sense of the truth, further dividing an already divided community. In the end, Musk's discovery has the potential to upend not only American politics, but also the global order, with deep ramifications for national sovereignty, international diplomacy, economic stability, and social cohesiveness. What are the likely effects of Musk's allegations? Continue watching to find out. Unmasking the hidden power. Elon Musk's comments about the deep state's grip over U.S. presidents might jeopardize national sovereignty, which depends on a nation's government working autonomously without interference from unelected forces. If these accusations are verified, the repercussions might extend beyond the U.S., since the concept that the U.S. president is essentially a puppet controlled by a secret elite could undermine the country's credibility on the international stage. This might lead to a restructuring of global alliances, upsetting power balances, and perhaps starting new hostilities. Authoritarian governments might potentially capitalize on these findings, using Musk's assertions to legitimize their own undemocratic policies. The economic consequences of Musk's remarks might be far-reaching, given the US is the cornerstone of the global economy, and its political stability is important for sustaining trust in global markets. If the deep state genuinely influences financial choices inside the US government, it might imply that policies are structured to favor a tiny secret elite, worsening economic disparity. International investors may lose faith in the US economy, perhaps causing a financial catastrophe. This loss of confidence might expand beyond markets to the American population, leading to deep-seated disappointment and resentment. Elon Musk's comments about the deep state might start a period of political instability in the US, leading to a surge in anti-establishment groups and conspiracy theories. The media's involvement in molding Musk's statements might be essential, since if news outlets accepted his accusations as believable, it could legitimize the concept that a deep state is in charge. However, ignoring these assertions as worthless conspiracy theories might further weaken public faith in institutions. Social media sites like Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube would undoubtedly be overwhelmed with information linked to Musk's discovery, creating echo chambers where agreement on the truth would be impossible. If Musk's assertions are genuine, combating the deep state would involve a broad-based campaign combining government officials, media outlets, and the general public. Efforts to undermine the deep state's power can include institutional changes, improved supervision of intelligence agencies, and ensuring elected officials are held responsible. Legal and legislative challenges might potentially play a role in curtailing the deep state's dominance. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, leave nice comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more interesting content. Check out another interesting video by clicking on the video appearing on your screen right now.